Over the past few months, I've really gotten into pickleball. Before playing, I used to think that it was just for old white people. But as I started to go to this pickleball court near my house, I realized that pickleball truly is for everyone. So when I decided to go to New York, one of the first things I packed was my pickleball paddle. By day 3, I had found a place to play pickleball at, and that was at Woolman Rink. What's interesting about Woolman Rink is it's usually an ice skating rink, but during the summers and warmer months, it has now made a deal with Citi Pickle where it becomes a place for pickleball. Compared to Seattle, though, you actually have to pay to play pickleball there. It's only about $5, but you have to pay per hour to basically reserve your spot, which kind of makes sense, though, since there's so many people and it's in the middle of Manhattan. So that morning on day 3, I was super excited to get ready to play pickleball. But when I woke up, it was heavily raining and I even heard some lightning. And when I looked online, my reservation had been refunded and I couldn't play pickleball. So after learning that pickleball was closed for the day, I decided to go to the nearby deli to have a BEC. And it's a pretty simple thing, but very delicious. It's a bacon, egg, and cheese. Just like beef patty, it's nothing too complex, but it definitely is a staple in New York. And I learned throughout the week that not every BEC is created equally. So when I got back to the house from getting the BEC, I convinced Augie and his roommate Kate to go see the new Leonardo DiCaprio movie, One Battle After Another. And this was a big deal to me because I had never seen a Leonardo DiCaprio movie in theaters. So this was going to be my first time seeing him on the big screen, and it was opening week in New York. A cool fact about the movie is both Jungle Pussy and Tiana Taylor, who are both featured in the film, are from New York City. And there was even a show that Jungle Pussy put on after the movie came out. It's just another cool layer of how New York tied into this experience of seeing this movie. Once the movie ended, it was about 7 o'clock or so Augie and Kate had to go do their own things at this point. So I decided to go to the Comedy Cellar. I took the subway there. I arrived to the Comedy Cellar, and I didn't realize you needed to buy tickets in advance. So I bought it on my phone right there and then, but because I was just going by myself, I was able to get in. It was almost like continuing that tradition, though, of every time I go to New York, I go to a comedy club. You get to know who you're seeing in advance. They have like a list online of who's dropping in. That's how you kind of pick what days you want to go to. It was only $15 because it was a weekday. And I think that's something I want to point out is I've met so many people who have never actually been to a comedy show. And it's actually not too expensive to go see live comedy. And I think it's a very important art form, and you don't always have to go to an arena to enjoy good comedy. These things like the Comedy Cellar are perfect because it's such an intimate experience, and you never know who you might see online that's going to drop in. I will say, though, I'm pretty spoiled with the comedians I get to work with and the ones that I've seen live. So even though the venue is pretty iconic, the comedians weren't that great. A lot of them focused on that kind of stereotypical humor now where it's like, oh, what I'm about to say next is going to get me canceled. It's just so played out at this point. And you know, if you don't go to a lot of comedy shows, you might think that is funny, but I'm like, it's just kind of hacky and corny at this point. So none of the comedians really stood out to me, but overall it was just a cool experience. And for $15, you know, that's not bad. Because I had gone to the comedy show by myself, I was placed next to another person who had arrived by themselves as well. I was placed next to a guy who was from Italy, and just sitting next to him was kind of half the experience, to be honest, just to be around people that were having a great time and laughing. Even though I was jaded, I really could appreciate that. After the comedy show, we ended up talking outside and going to a cocktail bar together called Jack's on Bond. And just like any other cocktail bar, it was pretty preppy, but there was a lot of people inside that they actually had to turn away a lot of people. And there was a pool table, so I played pool. For me, I think one of the easiest ways to break the ice with people at a bar is to play pool and invite people to join in. I also learned that the Italian guy was in town for Climate Change Week, which takes place in New York. It's also a nice tie-in to me going to the Global Citizen Festival a few days later. And then from there, I Ubered to Augie's and I called it a night. Day 4 of New York. It's halfway through my trip. I've really found my rhythm at this point. Bridge and I have plans to meet up. I take the subway to Mashpee Park in Williamsburg. And this is the city that I decide I want to move to. It's a very hip, artsy, creative part of New York, and it's only about 20 minutes from Manhattan. and it is pretty expensive. When we meet up, we hang out at the park for a little bit. It's right on the water, and you get to see across the city to Manhattan, and then we decide to get food and go for pho. We come across this place called Hai Lua. It's about a 20-minute walk or so, or a 5 to 10-minute bike ride, and we decide to hop on the Citi Bikes. And this is my first time being on a Citi Bike. It was pretty pricey for that short little ride, but from my understanding, you can get a subscription, a monthly subscription, and that becomes part of people's daily commute is either Citi biking, subway, or walking. And then it seems like the last resort for a lot of people is having a car. Because also in New York, what ends up happening is some of that street parking turns into street sweeping. So you have to move your car or you can face a ticket because the street sweepers need to get around the city to clean up the streets. When we arrive to Hai Lua, it's pretty quiet in there, and the first thing I say is maybe we should leave to go somewhere else. But then I backtrack and realize this could be a good time to, just take a breather and enjoy the quietness in a very busy city. Living in a city is different from visiting a city. But when I was visiting, I really felt like I wanted the noise 24/7. But it was nice just to, have a nice bowl of pho. I will say my pho was pretty pricey, all because they threw in a big piece of bone with some meat on it. But overall, it was pretty tasty. So after Hai Lua, when we're walking around, I see this huge water tower that's also a bar. When I look it up online, it turns out it's not open for another hour or so. So I recommend that we go play pool while we wait for it to open. The pool place we go to charges $20 per person. We end up playing one round of pool that lasts 45 minutes to an hour. I have no idea where all that time went. We missed so many of our shots, and time just flew by. When we walk up to the rooftop bar entrance, Arlo, the security guard says it's going to be $20 because there is a DJ at the top. And we just spent $20 on pool, so we're kind of hesitant, and then he just lets us in for free. And there were just little moments like that kept happening throughout New York where I felt just lucky, and Bridge kept experiencing little lucky things here and there as well. So we take the elevator up, and there's also a pool at the top. So there's a pool, there's a bar, there's another level where you can see more of the city. And as we're looking out over the city, the sun starts to set and all the New York lights start to flicker on. It was very magical, very cinematic. So after the rooftop bar, Bridge and I go to Brooklyn in Brooklyn to meet up with Mark. Mark recommended we go here because it was the final night before they closed permanently. When we arrived, Mark wasn't there yet, and it was pretty busy inside. Everything was kind of taken over. So there wasn't anything for us to really do. So we walked outside and waited for Mark. Mark walked up a few minutes later, and then we all walked over to Augie and his sister Russia's friend's art gallery, Living Skin. This was also Living Skin's last day before permanently closing as well. So going to Brooklyn and Living Skin were more instances of seeing places in New York before they disappeared. So while we were at Living Skin for their going away party, I DJ'd a little bit, and then Makai arrived, and we decided to all go back to Williamsburg. We ended up Ubering to this place called The Whiskey, and what I did not realize was Makai actually had alcohol on him, and when he got checked at the front entrance, they found alcohol, and he drank it right in front of them and then was denied access. So we decided to stay together as a group and not go play skee ball. And later that week, we ended up playing skee ball anyway, so it was all fine. But this was just another example of just rolling with the punches, whether it was from day 3 not being able to play pickleball, or, day 4 towards the end of the night not being able to play skee ball. There was just so many cool things that happened in between those things that they were just small instances in the grander adventure.